Here's the uncomfortable truth. The thing shrinking your vector index might also be quietly lowering the quality of your answers.
That thing is product quantization, or PQ. It is a trick for storing embeddings in much less memory, so similarity search stays affordable at scale.
And for people building RAG, that sounds like a superpower until the retrieval gets just a little bit worse, and the model starts sounding confident about the wrong document.
Exactly. PQ is not mainly about making embeddings smarter. It is about making a huge vector database fit in RAM, fit on cheaper machines, and search faster enough to be practical.
So what is it, in plain English, without turning this into a compression lecture?
Take a long embedding vector and split it into smaller chunks. For each chunk, instead of storing the original floating point values, you store the ID of the closest prototype from a learned codebook.
So instead of keeping the full vector, you keep a handful of tiny labels that point to pre-learned patterns.
Right. A 768-dimensional embedding might normally take around 3 kilobytes if stored as float32. With PQ, you can shrink that dramatically, often down to a few dozen bytes plus shared codebooks.
That is a brutal memory cut. Give me a concrete RAG scenario where that changes the game.
Say you have 100 million document chunks. Raw vectors might push you into hundreds of gigabytes. PQ can pull that down enough that one service can keep the index hot in memory instead of spilling across expensive nodes.
So the winner is cost, latency, and scale. But what gets traded away?
Fidelity. The stored vector is now an approximation. Distances between vectors are no longer exact, which means the nearest neighbors you retrieve can shift.
And, in RAG, shifting the top neighbors is not a tiny detail. That can change which facts the model sees, which sources it cites, and whether the answer is even grounded.
Yes, the key sacrifice is ranking accuracy near the decision boundary. If two chunks are very similar to the query, PQ can swap their order or miss one that the full precision search would have found.
That sounds subtle, but subtle errors are the nasty ones because they look fine until they are costly.
Think of a support bot for a payments product. The query is about chargeback deadlines. Two policy chunks are close, but one is current and one is from last year. PQ noise can help the outdated chunk sneak into the top results.
And then the model answers cleanly, cites the wrong rule, and now the issue is not retrieval engineering, it is compliance risk.
That is why PQ is a business trade, not just an index setting. You are choosing cheaper retrieval in exchange for a controlled amount of recall loss and distance distortion.
Controlled if you measure it. Dangerous if you do not.
Exactly. Many teams only look at latency and memory, then assume answer quality will stay stable. But retrieval quality can degrade first in edge cases, long-tail queries, multilingual content, or heavily overlapping chunks.
Where do teams usually fool themselves?
On easy benchmarks. If your test queries are broad and obvious, PQ can look nearly free. The pain shows up on precise lookups, legal wording, version docs, or product catalogs where tiny wording differences matter.
Give me another example, one that feels very real for a startup.
Imagine an e-commerce RAG assistant helping agents answer warranty questions. Full vectors return the exact regional policy for a product line. Aggressive PQ returns a generic warranty chunk from a neighboring market because the embeddings look almost the same after quantization.
So your memory bill drops, but your support team starts giving customers the wrong return window. The spreadsheet says win. Operations says disaster.
That is the tension. PQ favors platforms that need scale and can tolerate some approximation. It punishes teams whose value depends on exact retrieval of fine-grained distinctions.
Is the lesson to avoid PQ for RAG?
No, the lesson is to use it intentionally. PQ is great when your corpus is huge, your budget is finite, and you validate retrieval quality on the queries that actually matter. It is a lever, not a free lunch.
So if I am deciding, the real question is not, can PQ compress my index? It is which retrieval mistakes become more likely, and can my product survive them?
Exactly. Product quantization buys scale by replacing exact vectors with compact approximations. If you know what fidelity you are giving up, it is powerful. If you do not, You are compressing trust.